is Holy Matrimony, and tonight is Sunday night service, where we get together and celebrate, discuss, and just have a good conversation about not just our marriage, but marriage in general. Because our goal is for those of you who are married or want to be married, for you to learn how to live with your whole self successfully in marriage. If you're not and you used to be and you want to be married again, or I always say, even if you don't want to be married again, we still want to encourage you in living a whole life.
Yes.
And so we appreciate you for joining us. You want to tell them where they can find us?
You can find us on all major podcast sites, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Buzzsprout, and there may be one more. Also on YouTube at Holy Matrimony, YouTube. And I'm also on Instagram, Yaktastic1, YAKKTASTIC1.
Yes. And I'm on Instagram at Candace_cultivates. And this is the season of gardening, so you will find all things gardening on my Instagram. All right.
Yeah.
So, as I mentioned last week, if you joined us last week or watched the replay, we are celebrating our 18th wedding anniversary at the end of this month.
Yes, May 30.
May 30th. We will have been married 18 years. And so we decided that every Sunday leading up to our anniversary, including our anniversary, that we'll take some time to explore the past, the present, and the future as it relates to our marriage. And last week we talked about the past, and we discussed that big question that lots of couples get asked: how did you know they were the one? So that was our discussion last week, and it was good.
It was good, yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
So if you didn't get a chance to join us, or if you haven't watched the replay or listen to the podcast, we highly, highly, highly encourage you to do so. And we also shared a few shorter clips throughout the week on our Facebook page. So tune in. We would love to hear from all of you who are married or getting married. How did you know that your spouse was the one? We love love stories. We love sharing our story, and we would love to hear yours. So that was last week.
Yep.
So this week, we are going to talk about the present and what is it like to be married in the year 2021. What is it like to be married? And what are some of the gifts from being married that we've discovered? And we could play that a few ways. Gifts like literal gifts, or lessons, or things you've learned about yourself. So we're going to talk about that and explore our marriage right here in the present. What are we doing now? And also, how did we get here? So, but before we do that, we got to have our marriage fun fact. Of course.
Yay. I hear all the applause.
Eric is he's an information person.
Yeah.
You value information.
Yeah. Even if it may seem trivial or useless, it's just good to know things.
Yes,
you know?
He's a diehard Jeopardy fan. Diehard Jeopardy.
Yep.
So, he likes facts, figures, information. So that's why and I do too, especially the way he explains them. But that's why we do our marriage fun fact. And so I think and
a lot of times these facts, they turn into discussions, which we have to kind of stop because we need to get to our main subject.
Yeah.
But, it's just good things to talk about sometimes too.
Yeah, and really, they've been really good information as well. So you have a fact for us today?
Yeah, hopefully this is a good one. This one's kind of simple. I'm not sure how much
you
we'll
always
talk
say
about
that though, and then we're like, what? And we're discussing for 15 minutes. That's deep.
No, but this one, the fun fact for this week is married people are twice as likely to go to church as unmarried people.
Interesting. That is very interesting.
So why do we think that is, or why could that be? What?
Well, the key word is likely.
Yeah.
But I guess one thing that comes to mind is that I would say we still live in a day and age where quite a few people, I would say the majority of people, especially in the United States, getting married, do get married in connection to religion or faith, even if they're not necessarily like quote unquote practicing.
Right.
You'll see that a lot of people do still get married with the justice of the peace, or find, even, I mean, nowadays, like when people get married, they literally just kind of like find ministers to marry them. It's not necessarily somebody that they're connected to. But I'm wondering if it's just that connection piece there too, where even in preparation for marriage, that becomes a part of what you're thinking about in terms of getting married in a church or a temple or some type of religious institution because of, what marriage is. So that's just one thought. I think there might be more to it than that, but that's just one.
Yeah. I think those are really good observations. Also, I think part of it could be that just, when people approach marriage, they kind of have an attitude of wanting to, quote unquote, settle down. And so I think that could not only mean like settle down and just be with one person and live, share life, but also like settle down from all the wildness I've been doing, all the wilding out.
Or not just the wilding out though, but settle down and get grounded or rooted in something that can help provide direction for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, and for like the family to come.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think
How
that's
do
a part of it.
when you think of building a family and instilling morals and values into your children, again, I think there's a close connection between that and religion or faith or spirituality. And so people may find themselves, as they're growing their family or marriage relationships, seeking those things out maybe more than if they were single.
Right.
That is really interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's up to the church, to really do a better job at giving people tools to have successful marriages. No, there are a lot of churches out there with marriage ministries and different things like that. And sometimes, no matter how many tools people have, there may be reasons why their marriages don't work. I think the main thing is just kind of not being selfless, but that's a whole nother conversation, a whole nother video. But yeah, since, people are looking toward the church after they become married, it'd be good for the church to really give people more resources to help them. And more than just like, y'all go pray about it. We need like some real resources too, some tangible resources also. Yeah. Because there are a lot of spiritual people out there that pray and prophesy and lay hands and all this, evangelize, but they just don't treat their spouse like they should.
You said it so much nicer than I was thinking it. I was like, as soon as you said like there's a lot of spiritual people out there, in my mind I was like, yeah, there's a lot of spiritual people out there who give stupid advice. Sorry. I mean, that's just kind of how I think about it. I mean, we were involved in an online discussion the other day, and I think, again, like you're saying, we need very practical,
that's
tangible, applicable, relevant tools to help couples be successful in their marriage relationship. And especially in the church, it's not a one size fits all kind of thing, right? So there also has to be relationship and community for couples to be in so that they can learn from each other, and not just have, I would say, a very traditional viewpoint shoved down their throats. I'm trying to choose my words very carefully. That isn't biblically based. So we have to be very careful of that, of when we're, leading couples down that pathway of marriage and success, that our religiosity, some people say toxic religion, those things are not influencing how we give support, direction, advice, counsel, whatever you want to call it. Right. But I mean, I think like the bottom line, what you said is that, we need to do more in the church we need to do more to support families, to support successful, healthy marriages. And that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
We're not experts or anything like that, but we do feel like people need support. They need encouragement, and they need somebody that's just like gonna be real.
Yeah.
We do want to ground what we say and teach in the Word of God, but we also want to be, and we want to be real with people.
Yeah.
Right? Like this isn't a cakewalk. But it's also fun. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Good fact.
Thanks.
I mean,
it
for
turned out
us,
better than I expected.
Yeah. I mean, do you think it's harder for us to look at that fact because we grew up in church?
Yeah.
But it is. But now that you say that, though, I believe my parents told me that after I was born, my family started going to church. So I mean, again, you have a growing family. I'm the second, I'm the baby, and so yeah, you also see like we're growing, we're raising children. We gotta get to church.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Amen.
I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
But this is they're more likely to. Doesn't mean they are.
Yeah.
But they are more likely to. So, that is our marriage fact for today.
Yep.
And we're going to move on to our main discussion today.
Oh, we got a comment.
Yes. I'm sorry. We're going to back it up because I like what Latoya said. The equipping for the work of the ministry goes beyond Sunday. Yes, it does. Yes. And we got to equip folks for Monday through Saturday. Real life. So like I said, we have been celebrating our anniversary, or kind of like we're gearing up to do some celebrating for our anniversary. And last week I mentioned that, we're celebrating 18 years, and typically it's not like a milestone or a mile marker, not 10, not 20. But I don't know. I feel like 18, especially raising children for us, I'm like, we're finally going to be grown up. So I think for us it is special.
When we were out a couple weeks ago, did we say this in another video? We were out trimming
yard work,
bushes and all kind of stuff like that. I was like, man, we're real grown ups. We're out there pruning our
trees
and
bushes.
bushes and stuff like that's real grown.
Because we want to. Like we were out there because we were like, I need to do that and I want to do that. So it's like, I feel like we're grown, right? Toya said we're 20 in pandemic years. Seriously. That's so true. So yeah, it is, and I'm also like, I'm kind of an odd person when it comes to numbers. Like, wait, my alarm.
Oh yeah.
I'm just kind of weird. So 18 is very special to me. I'm not really big on celebrating like milestones. So 10 and 20 years. Like,
so you don't want to do anything special for your
No,
20?
I do. I want my diamonds upgraded. See? Like, I knew where he was going with that. He's like, I love my ring, but we're going to expand.
Yeah, we're going to expand our territory.
Yes. But I get excited about the numbers in between. So I'm excited about 18 years. It's crazy to even think that we've been married that long.
I know. I was talking to my mom today. She was like, she was exaggerating. She was like, it seems like just yesterday y'all got married.
It does.
Yeah, it has gone pretty quickly.
Yeah. And we have a long way to go, but it's just crazy. So last week we talked about the present. How did we know each other was? How did you know I was the one? So go back and listen to last week.
Yeah, listen and watch.
But this week we're talking about the present. What is it like to be married in 2021? Right? Raising teenagers.
Yeah.
Teenagers. Working 2 full-time jobs and businesses and life.
And ministry.
Yeah, ministry. Yeah. So I think this will be more free-flowing, but, for you to share, maybe what picture of marriage did you have versus what we have?
Oh, that's interesting because the way life was when we got married, first of all, we were going into full-time ministry as pastors of a storefront little church,
Why you have to
church.
say it like
it
that?
was little, but God blessed though.
Yes,
God did some great things. But
I'm surprised you even said that.
What?
That you even just, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, so going into it, I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I knew we had a great bond. I knew we were really close, and I was excited to share life with Candace, like 100%, 150%. And I knew I really loved music. I knew that was going to be a thing for me. I probably would have thought I would have done more like touring, like professional touring and stuff like that. Maybe not like full time, but I mean, I did get a chance to do a lot of that stuff.
Yep.
And so for those pieces, those were solid. But like all the stuff in between, like I didn't really expect. Like I can't say I expected us to pastor for like 20 years or anything like that. I can't really say that. Because honestly, that kind of ministry was never really something I was passionate about, like that I thought that I was really like made for.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I didn't really see that in my like at this point where I am now. I wouldn't have thought that I'd still be doing that, and I'm not. So, but I just the general things about like having kids, raising kids, having a yard,
A yard.
yeah, just having family times, trips, things like that.
Yeah.
My thing is that maybe I didn't have a lot of expectations. I just expected life to be good with whatever came. So that's why I've never been like disappointed in our marriage because it's just all been good, And I mean, of course we've had bad times,
Yeah.
we've had tough times, but like I didn't come into it with like this super big checklist. I mean, yes, we had some dreams and goals we wrote down, but I wasn't like, it has to be like this or that or the other or it's not going to work. You know what I'm saying?
I never realized that.
Yeah. So, yeah. I guess I kind of came into it with a clean slate in some ways and it's just ready to share our lives.
I mean, and that's some couples, that isn't how they approach. Like, I know, we both know people that, they had the plan.
Yeah.
I mean, like, at 5 years, we're going to be here. At 10 years, we're going to be here. And I was like, wow, you have your whole life planned. And there's nothing wrong with that. That probably would have been really hard for me. I think if you were that type of person that were like, this is my 5-year plan for us, I'd have been like, really? Not interested.
But I'm supposed to set the vision for the house.
Yeah.
Right?
But I mean, I'm just saying I never realized either that you didn't have like these big expectations, for our marriage. But I think you did. I mean, you had desires, like you wanted to have children and be a great dad and have a good relationship with your kids and have a successful, healthy marriage. But also not having these big expectations for something you've never experienced in your life helped not to have so much pressure, feel so much pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
There's something else I was going to say. It's escaping me now, but you can go ahead. It'll come back to me, I know.
Okay. Don't forget.
I think that 43-year-old brain starting to try to get in my way.
What is it? Oh, this is his last year of his early 40s. He's going to be going into his mid-40s.
Y'all pray for me. I already lost my hair. No, there's still some hair. It's kind of grown back, but not enough of it. Anyway, go ahead.
But that's me in the numbers. So 44, 45, 46. That's mid. I think for me, I didn't have any grand expectations either. No, let me back up. That's not necessarily true. I will say that, you and I definitely had a lot of conversations about the marriages that we witnessed and the types of homes that we grew up in relationship to marriage. And I definitely had expectations in terms of like what I didn't want my marriage to be like. And I did make that very clear. But it wasn't like, you got to be this way, you got to do that. It was just based off of what I saw and what I experienced. I knew there were certain things that I wanted to work on, that I wanted to make sure we both knew how to do. And I mean, that doesn't mean we didn't make mistakes, but if you know me, you know that I'm a communicator. And that's one of the reasons why, is that I did not witness very good communication, healthy communication at times. And so I really wanted my marriage to involve communicating, clearly communicating, working towards communicating, learning how to communicate, building communication skills. And not that what was around me growing up, not that there wasn't any love, but I think I did look towards my marriage with an expectation of wanting my husband to know that I loved him and wanting to know that I was loved. And I think part of it goes back to that communication piece, but also just like in demonstration, in how we talk about each other when the other person isn't around. Like that was a big thing for me, because a lot of the women around me, not just one or two, but a lot of the women around me growing up, didn't have nice things to say about their husbands when they weren't around. And so for me, I was like, well, I plan to marry somebody who I won't be like that with. Yeah. Like that was the plan. And my plan was also, I want to be in a marriage where we both understand that when we're apart, we still represent one another. Yeah. And so how I speak of him in our marriage is reflective upon me, right? And whether or not he's there or not. And so I think I was looking towards the future and the marriage before I knew Eric or met him at all. And I was developing some of these general expectations. Yeah. It wasn't necessarily like specific goals or plans, but I definitely had those expectations leading into our marriage. And we did talk about it a lot. And I shared a lot about the things that I experienced growing up and what I witnessed and what I didn't want for my marriage, and he understood that. Doesn't mean we didn't have problems within that, and we did, but at least, when we were learning how to communicate with each other, we knew that was a priority. Yeah. We didn't just like brush things under the rug for a long time, or I wasn't talking to my girls and bashing him, or talking to my children and bashing him, and stuff like that, because that was the expectation I had. So I'll say that in comparison, like now being in the present, I can see that played a major part in our relationship and building that success, and me learning, how to be a loving wife to my husband, because I had a very clear picture of what I didn't want. And I had to shift from not just focusing on, well, I don't want that, I don't want my marriage to look like that, to like, what do I want? What do I want our marriage to look like? And I see some of those things because I began to set my mind on that and be intentional around building that language in my head and visualizing those interactions and expectations. So yeah, so
I guess now that you mentioned all that kind of stuff, I did have a lot of those same expectations. I was thinking like, what life would look like, or where we live, or I was thinking about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, what were some of the things you thought about, like, for your marriage before we got married?
Well, I mean, a lot of things you say, like, being able to express love for one another regularly, and just having that trust and that love, and even having that love feeling most days, because some days you know you just ain't got it, you know, and it's okay.
What you
That's when you fall back on your friendship, you know. You know, there's some days where you just have a bad day and
So it's not necessarily the other person.
yeah. It's where you just don't feel like loving nobody. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying?
You just in your feelings.
Yeah, like Aaliyah said, you know, I just want to be all alone, you know, or just one of them days, right?
You mean Monica?
Monica, sorry,
Okay.
I get my '90s R&B female singers mixed up. But what was I saying?
You did have some of those expectations about being loving.
And just really having a good bond. I mean, my mom and dad were divorced at the time. They've remarried since then. But so I didn't have an example at home, but my pastor and my uncle and aunt and a few others showed me really good marriage relationships. And so I really gleaned a lot off of being around them for a number of years. And so I saw their relationships. I saw how they treated their wives and how their wives treated them, and just how they had a good time. And they, you know, even if they had conflict, they worked through it. They prayed together, all those things. And I just, you know, that's what I expected too. And also I expected to have a lot of sex too. So, because we were waiting. So I expected to have a lot of sex.
Why you have to say it twice though?
Because I didn't get enough of a reaction out of you.
Because I know this.
You know me, I'm always trying to get the reaction.
Yes, and you never get it. Sometimes
but
you
do. really I did. I mean, you know, I wasn't a virgin.
I did too, y'all. Okay,
yeah.
Don't worry, don't feel bad for me.
But we had made a decision to wait until we got married. So, you know, I wanted that to be an important part of our marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, my pastor used to always talk about it, and, you know, and how important it is and things like that too. So I knew that it wasn't just about fulfilling a physical need. It was a tool to use to draw you closer together, you know.
Communicate.
Yeah. And there's more than just that, but that's one of the tools. So, yeah. So, yeah, you know, I expected, you know, just to love and be loved, and to, you know, protect, you know, my family, my wife, you know, to just be the guy, I guess, that would take care of them. Yeah. And so, yeah.
I mean, I think ultimately, you know, you can definitely create expectations. I mean, I think you have to have expectations for how you want to be in your marriage with each other, right? But it's difficult to just, and I'm not saying you don't plan, but it can be challenging when you paint this picture of what you think your marriage is going to actually look like.
Yeah.
Because you never know the situations you're going to have to face.
Right.
You know, like for us, even from the time that we started dating and we knew that we loved each other and we were deciding like, yes, we want to get married, within a year, that went from us focusing on each other and knowing that we wanted to get married, getting engaged, and planning a wedding, to then totally shifting to like, we're doing all of that, but then we're also going to be new pastors, pastoring a church. And so instantly, that whole like, what your first year of marriage is supposed to look like changed. Right? I mean, we got married and started pastoring at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't recommend
We moved
that.
up our wedding because we were going to start pastoring.
Yes.
Because we were going to get married in October.
Yep, October 18th.
But then we pushed it up because we were getting ready to start. We didn't want to, you know, be tempting each other, you know.
Exactly. And so everything changed. So imagine if, like, you know, I had our whole first year planned out, or we just knew, like, this is how our first year of marriage is going to look. And then it all changes. And I think that would have been really hard to deal with. And it still was hard to deal with because it wasn't what we expected in terms of how we were going to spend our first year of marriage together as husband and wife. But it taught us a lot of things. It grew us up really fast.
Yeah.
Especially as a newlywed couple. Like, a lot of the stupid fights that I think a lot of couples think that you're going to have to experience, getting to know somebody who that you're now living with who you've never lived with before. Peanuts compared to what we were experiencing. So we didn't have time for all of that. I didn't have time. We didn't have time to argue about socks on the floor and toothpaste in the sink and a dirty dish in the sink because we were literally battling.
But you did tell me about that hair in the sink.
I did, because that was gross. And we had wait a minute though, back up. I did tell you about the hair in the sink because in that house we had one bathroom.
One bathroom.
So
that's all.
Different. We had one bathroom.
That's all, yeah.
So,
okay, yeah.
But I'm just saying, we did have expectations for how we wanted to be in our marriage, but for specifically how it was going to look or what we're going to do, we didn't necessarily have those. We were planning some things, but a lot of those things changed. And so we were flexible. I mean, we were flexible. We were open.
Yeah.
But I think that has also served us well because as we have grown in our marriage and started, raising children, we have hit many unexpected situations. And so learning how to plan, but then also how to pivot has really helped us.
Yeah.
And through it all, I think we've learned how to expect the best, but plan for the worst, and we've been thrown curveballs, but we've made, great situations out of things. And we've also recognized that some of the challenges that we face have been a gift. And we wouldn't change anything about them. So, yeah. The other thing I kind of want to talk about and ask you about, too, is just balance, right? One of the things I hear a lot from people, especially being parents of children that have special needs, children that are close in age together, and just with all of the things that we do, a lot of people always say, oh my gosh, how do you do it? Like, you guys, how do you do it all? You're so great. And I'm like, yeah, I cried and screamed and gotten in the car and I'll be back for no reason. You don't see all that. But I think it's important maybe for us to talk about how do we balance? How do we balance prioritizing our marriage with all of the demands of life? And how have you done that as a man and a husband?
Yeah.
And how have I done that as a wife?
I think the main thing is that you have to come to a point where you're okay with saying no to people and to things even. As before you have kids, a lot of times, your life is really just about you, maybe your spouse. Your time is your time, and that's it. That's all. You can do whatever you want to do. But once you have children, your time's it's no longer just your time. It's their time too. And so as we've progressed through parenthood, over the years, we've both had to kind of shift and recognize that our time is their time also. For instance, we've talked about it before, and I still do a good amount of music, but there was a time where I was really spending a lot of time with one group, and it was good for me musically, and I had a great time with the people. I love the people, still love them all. But as my kids started getting older, I came to the realization that they are going to be grown soon. And if I don't spend time inputting myself into them, and I'm not trying to be deep or anything where I've got to, speak like Mufasa to them or anything. I'm just saying just spending time with them so that they know their dad, they know who their father
investing.
is. And so I know who they are too, just like if you're in a marriage and you don't spend time together, that's when you get to the point where you're like, we grew apart because we didn't know each other. So I didn't want that with my kids or my wife even. So I had to come to a point, and I've mentioned this book before. This book, I should read it again, but this book changed my life. It's called Approval Addiction by Joyce Meyer.
Yeah.
And through that book, through reading that book, I learned how to say no to people, or how to say, like, I cannot do this, I cannot do that, without being torn down, wondering what they're going to think of me, you know? So I had to make the choice to change what I deemed as priority as my kids grew older. And even with our marriage, like, you know, you got to make priorities. Like, there's some gigs you just can't do because it's important to be somewhere else. It's important to do something else.
Like, for example, you used to take a gig on Mother's Day.
Yeah. I did that a couple times, and I was just like, I can't do that anymore.
Yeah, and part of
and it was like the
it
whole
is,
weekend. It wasn't just that day. It was the whole weekend.
And also, I'm also at fault in a way because I was like, oh no, and well, no, I was okay with it. So don't get me wrong. Like, I was okay with you taking the gig, but even if that's the part of it, is like, even if I'm okay, doesn't mean that you can't say no. Right. You know, because it's just the principle of it. Like, it's still Mother's Day. And so let's just prioritize it, even if I say I'm okay. Right. You know, with you being 6 hours away.
And I'm not saying you did this, but sometimes, you know, women may say I'm okay.
Oh, yeah.
But they might not be.
Yeah. And there were definitely other times that I said I was okay with certain things. I mean, specifically those trips, I was okay. I'm not a big, like, have to blow out, celebrate Mother's Day. It was fine. But there definitely were other times where I probably was just tired and feeling like, and I knew that certain gigs that you took that took a lot of your time and didn't return a lot, like, I might have said I was okay with it because I felt like, well, you know, he's got to do this, he's got to build up, you know, his reputation, blah, blah, blah. But on the inside, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. They want you to rehearse twice a week for the next 3 weeks. Like, that would be in my mind, like, what? Yeah. But, you know, I was just like, oh, it's fine.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, for people that didn't have the same situation I had, like, that's what they do. That's fine, you know? And so somebody with, like me, like with a family, I got to make a choice. Like, am I going to do that, or am I going to, I got to decide what's the main priority for me. Is my family more of a priority, or are those endeavors more of a priority? So, I mean, that's whatever you're going to do, whether it's music, whether it's business, whatever it is you're going to do, you got to decide what's the top priority. And sometimes things that are not part of that top priority, you have to take a back seat. And you got to be willing to say no to some people, or even no to your own self, because, you know, you got to take care of what you really got to take care of.
Yeah. Heard someone say it today. No is a complete sentence. There you go. You don't have to even put the whole sentence together. Just say no.
You don't have to have a comma, and then have something after it. You can just say no.
Are you available to do? No.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But that, you know, that also helped you establish, like you said, some balance and some priorities for our marriage and our family, because it was hard for you. You felt like you were missing out on some things, and one of your big desires for being a great dad, you didn't feel like you had enough time to do that, you know, so you had to create some balance. And I really feel like it's worked out for you, because some people may have looked at the opportunities you had, and they probably looked at those like, oh my gosh, that probably is some of the greatest people and groups you can play for. And they were great. But even after you stepped back and you said no, you have then were introduced and invited to play, I think, with some phenomenal people in a different area who also understand your life as a husband and a father. So that is the other part of creating that balance and prioritizing. When you do that, the opportunities that do come your way as a result of you getting clear on what your priorities are and what your expectation is and how you want to balance, they support that, right? Yeah. Like, look at the people you play with now. You know, They're not overly demanding. They pay well. Some of them have families and children themselves, so they understand, like, I can't be asking you for all your time. You got to be with your family because they have to be with their family.
Right.
You know, and before that wasn't the case. Like, literally all the people that you played with were, like, single dudes who were like, yeah, I can rehearse at 11 o'clock at night. What? On a Tuesday? And they were full-time musicians, so they weren't waking up at 6,
Yeah.
you know, to get ready for their day job
Right.
like he was. And so I'm like, bruh, this is not healthy.
It's not sustainable.
No, it's
You
not
get
sustainable.
burnt out, you know. When you can't say no to people, you're going to get burnt out.
Yep.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, you were burning your candlestick from both ends.
Yeah.
And they were burning it from one, and they were like, bruh, like, how come you can't keep up? And it's like, because I'm married, I have kids, and I have a whole full-time job.
Yeah.
So, but like you said, you set those priorities and the balance. And that's been key for us, I think, in our marriage now, as we have 2 daughters who are 3 years away from graduating.
I know.
I can't believe I just said that.
believe.
3 years away from graduating from high school.
Remember back when they went to kindergarten or whatever, they was like, welcome class of 2024.
They did.
Yep. And I was like, oh, that's
And they have
way in the
posters,
future.
and we thought that was like so weird that it was even like 2020 anything. And it was. And at that time, it was 2024 and 2025.
Yeah.
Because our youngest, after that, got moved up a grade.
Yeah.
So they are both the class of 2024, which is 3 years away. Insane.
So we're taking donations also to the Yates Family College Fund. Also, we take Cash App.
Stop, because
I'm
don't
gonna
even
start a
get me started.
GoFundMe.
No, he already knows. Do not get me started on the
GoFundMe.
college. Help my child go to college. GoFundMe.
GoFundMe.
We're not going to talk about that. We're not. See, he just did it to get a reaction out of me, and he got one. I fell for it. But I'll say too, for me, that has been, I think, the key to balance has also been getting clear on what my priorities are. And not just balance for, you know, being a mom and being a wife, but literally balance for me. How do I balance my own sanity and prioritize me? How can I prioritize me and have balance if I'm trying to be all for everyone else? And I really had to learn, just like Eric did, that it is okay to say no. It's okay to stop doing things. That is a big thing for me. I am not a quitter. I am not a quitter.
Yeah.
And so for me to like stop doing something,
it's hard for me too.
It is.
Yeah.
It's really hard. But I had to learn that is okay. Because our lives were changing. My children have gotten older. They need us in a different way. Our marriage, you know, we wanted to continue to build a healthy, strong marriage. So, and it wasn't like, oh, I had to like dump my dreams down the toilet. No, it really wasn't that. I had to really think about what is it I really want. And like, so for you, approval addiction was you had an aha moment. For me, about 2 years ago, I was reading Brene Brown's Dare to Lead, and she had a quote in that book. Actually, before that, I read Gifts of Imperfection. Powerful. But then I read Dare to Lead, and she quoted someone else actually in the book and said, if you have more than 3 priorities, you don't have any priorities at all. And I was like, how dare you? But the more I thought about it, I felt it was right, because I started to think about the times in my life where I felt the most overwhelmed and the most out of control. And it was when I was trying to juggle 4, 5, 6 commitments. Yep, I can work. Yep, I can do that business. Yep, I can volunteer there. Yep, I can serve here. Yep, I can do that. And when I was trying to do all of those things, I felt out of control. And guess who caught the brunt of it? Everyone that lived under this roof. They did not get the best mom. He didn't get the best wife. And so I had to really, really dig deep and be honest with myself and say, what are the top 3 things that when I close my eyes at night and I wake up in the morning, I'm thinking about? That at the drop of a dime, if that needed something, I would go running happily. That I think about it, plan, that I invest in myself to get better in relationship to it. And when I did that, it became very clear to me. My career, number one. Not number one priority, but on the list. My career, my family, and ministry. And that really has been me my entire life. I just kind of had to like realize that and just admit it. Like, admit it, child. And then that made it easier for me to kind of say to those other things, you're not a priority right now. And to be okay with it. Because I think the other side, some of that approval addiction was there. Or in reverse, not wanting to look like a failure or not wanting to be a quitter. So just telling people what they wanted to hear to make it look like I was going to keep going. But then I wouldn't. And then what happens? And then you're kicking yourself and you're beating yourself up. But it's like, well, yeah, because it really wasn't a priority for you. And so when I got clear, I really felt like I was able to like see you more, invest in our relationship more, really be present for my kids. Also, again, other opportunities that supported my priorities started to come. Even my gardening. Yeah. Right? That is precious to me. And it absolutely supports my top priorities. It supports my family. In a way, it does support ministry because people are inspired by it. And it gives me respite from my career, from thinking about the work that I do day to day. So again, those priorities, the when you get them aligned, that's how we've been able to have balance in our lives as a couple and as parents. Not because we're
super parents.
Exactly. I'm like, super, yay.
Not because we're Twin Cities' best couple.
Oh my gosh. That is a story for another time. We did not give that designation to ourselves. But right, we're not super Yateses. We don't have these capes on. You know, we're not getting 2 hours of sleep and then like waking up fantastic. No. We had to get clear on our priorities so that we can focus on each other. So that we can focus on our kids and the things that we love the most. We had to learn how to say no. We had to learn how to let go. And be okay with it. And totally be okay with it. And I really thank God for that. I really do, because in the last year and a half, me learning how to do that has helped me to prioritize myself. And as a 40-plus-year-old woman, I'm only 41.
She don't look like it.
I know. But, you know, as a woman of my age, of being 40, 41, you gotta take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself. And I didn't want to have to be forced to take care of myself. Because of like some health crisis. And I've seen that happen to so many women who are trying to do it all and trying to be all for everyone. Not interested. I'm not interested in sacrificing my health physically or mentally for achievement. And I do like to achieve, but not at that expense. And so I had to like roll it back all the way, because when I was juggling so many things, I wasn't even able to focus on things that were important for me, like taking care of myself. So that I could have sex with my husband all the time. Right? Or hang out and have fun with my kids. So how do we do it? How do we balance it? You know, people are like, oh my gosh, I don't know how you do it. We prioritize. We have had to say no to some things and some people.
Yeah.
I have had to say no and let go of some opportunities. I have had to intentionally, nope, you are not a priority for me anymore. And when people ask me about those things, I am very honest with them. And I say, no, it's not a priority for me.
Right.
And guess what? I have the peace of God. And that is okay.
Yeah.
And for me, the what if tugs, that tugs at me.
Right.
But what if you would have just did more? Don't do that. Don't get caught up in that mentally.
Yeah.
Know what you want and what your priorities are, and the right opportunities will come that will support those priorities.
Right.
You had the people then begin to ask you to play for them. Guess what? The money supported the priorities. The time supported your priorities of wanting to be a great father and a great husband.
Yeah.
That's how it works, folks.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
And then also, I just want to say one thing. You know, a lot of times when we come to a point where we want to turn people down or say no to things, the enemy, you got to watch your mind, because he'll try to make you think that they're not going to, you know, like you or not going to care about you anymore. But all the people that we've had to say, you know, we're going to make a shift, we're going to do this or that, we're not going to do this anymore, we're still cool with all those people.
Yeah.
At least the ones that I can think of. Like, they're all cool with us and we're cool with them. You know, if they are really people of love, they're going to understand. Now, you might get some people that, you know, want to talk bad about you, whatever. Maybe they do, but at the end of the day, you're the one that has to answer to yourself for your choices.
Exactly.
And to God too. So, but, you know, a lot of times it's just a vain imagination that, oh, they're going to dog you, they're going to hate you, they're going to, you know, whatever. No, don't even worry about that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they'll understand that why you do what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know.
And I'm to the point now where I realize, and I tell people, at the end of the day, you got to look at who pays your bills. Who pays your mortgage?
Pays your bills.
Guess what? You're not lying next to me in the bed. You ain't paying my mortgage. You don't pay my bills.
Nope.
So whether you are okay with my decision or not is not my problem. It's not my problem. Because as long as I know that that is the best decision for me, and me and God have had that conversation, and He has confirmed, yes, this is what I want you to do, then it's all gravy. We're all good.
Yeah.
Because we have to lay down at night and be at peace in the same bed. And we have to manage our home and our family together as a couple. And nobody from the outside is going to come running over here and help us do that.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So things in the present are looking good.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's not easy, but we are enjoying it, and it is work. And, you know, we've learned a lot as we've shared. We've grown up, right? We're almost 18. And so we've learned quite a bit over these 18 years, and we're still learning.
Yes.
We're still learning.
Definitely.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say something else.
No, I had a little gas burp, and I was trying not to make it loud.
You did, because you just, like, explained the whole thing.
No. Yeah.
But that's the present, you all. You know, nothing fancy.
Yeah. No magic pill. No.
Just want to say that. No magic formula.
Yeah.
No.
Just, you know, enjoy life together, you know, just like, even you guys might have saw the pictures of me and Candace out on the deck today. Like, you know, I was trying to chill. I was like, oh, I should go watch a movie. And we had watched something already.
Yeah.
He was like, why don't you come outside with me? You know, and I was like, okay. So I put on a decent shirt and we went outside and we just talked for,
About
I don't even know.
45 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just talked and, you know, looked at the garden, and it was just fun. Like, you know, just enjoy these beautiful days. Enjoy your time together. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be complicated, you know. Now, there are times where we do something, you know, semi-extravagant or whatever, but, you know, just abiding with one another is what I enjoy.
Yeah. More times than not, it's the everyday.
Yeah.
It's in the everyday.
Yeah.
And every day can be beautiful, and every day can be fun, no matter how big or how small. You make it that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So next Sunday is our 18th anniversary,
Yep.
May 30th.
May
And we will
30th.
be here because we have some more plans after that.
Yeah.
But we're going to come hang out and just talk about the future. The future. It's crazy because when you first get married, you know, the future is, well, we want to have kids and all that. And now the future is like, what do we want life to look like after our kids are done with school? So we're going to talk about that. And what are our plans and desires that we have as we celebrate being 18. So thank you for joining.
Yes.
As a
we
reminder,
appreciate it.
you can find us right here on Facebook at Holy Matrimony.
Yeah.
If you have not liked our page and hit
What
the
you waiting for?
notifications, make sure you have your notifications turned on so you know we go live.
Yeah.
And on YouTube at Holy Matrimony as well, WHOLLY, and Holy Matrimony on all major podcast platforms.
Don't forget to subscribe and like so you
Yes.
can get the notifications. Yeah.
All right, y'all. Have a
All right.
wonderful week.
All right. Take care.
We'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Holy Matrimony with Eric and Candace Yates. Don't forget to subscribe. We want you to be notified of all of our new content. Take care.